petition to consider this morning. I should just highlight that in considering new petitions, as I always do, in advance of the committee considering them, we do two things. The first is that we invite the Scottish Parliament's independent research body, SPICE, to offer us a view on the issues that have been raised in the petition, and these are submitted to members of the committee in advance with the papers we receive. And we also invite the Scottish Government to give us a preliminary view, and we do those two things only because historically they were the first two things the committee used to then recommend doing, and only delayed the progress and consideration of the petition. So we come to the petition with those two bits of information in front of us. Our only new petition this morning is petition number 2147 to create more women-only homeless accommodation that protects and meets the specific needs of women. This has been lodged by Laura Jones on behalf of the Scottish Tenants Organisation, and it calls on the Scottish Parliament to urge the Scottish Government to reform homeless services in Scotland and to ensure that services protect women from sexual assault and exploitation by increasing funding and supporting the creation of more women-only homeless accommodation. The petitioner tells us that increasing numbers of women are being placed in unsuitable hotel and bed and breakfast emergency accommodation, with little consideration for the specific challenges and risk this poses for women. The petitioner is particularly concerned about the risk of sexual assault and exploitation women face when placed in temporary emergency accommodation. As the SPICE briefing notes, while local authorities have a duty to assess anyone applying as homeless in their area and to provide temporary accommodation in certain circumstances, the Scottish Government has a policy to reduce the use of temporary accommodation. And the briefing also highlights Scottish Government homelessness statistics for the period between April and September 24, which indicate that hostels and bed and breakfast accommodation accounted for 24% of temporary homeless accommodation. In its response to the petition, the Scottish Government recognises that women's experiences of homelessness are very different to the experiences of men, and therefore the response to their housing needs should also be different. The response draws our attention to the Temporary Accommodation Standards Framework, which was published in April 23, and aims to ensure that any time spent in temporary accommodation causes minimal harm by making sure that accommodation is of good quality, safe, warm and affordable, with consistency of standards across Scotland. The framework includes standards on support to access different types of accommodation, allocated on the basis of gender and provision of single-gender accommodation for households experiencing domestic abuse. The Scottish Government response also makes reference to implementation of the Equally Safe strategy, which members will know is aimed at preventing violence against women and girls and supporting survivors who have experienced such abuse. And in the year ahead, the Government will invest £21.6 million in delivering Equally Safe. Now, members will also have noted from our papers that issues related to this petition have been raised as part of the Housing Scotland Bill and the Social Justice and Social Security Committee's inquiry on the financial implications that women face when leaving an abusive relationship. This is obviously the first time we've considered this petition, and I can see we are joined this morning in the gallery by those who might have an interest in it. So I wonder, colleagues, if you have any suggestions as to how we may proceed. Mr Torrance?
Thank you, Convener. I wonder if the committee would consider writing to the Scottish Government seeking clarification on the funding it has provided through the Delivering Equally Safe Fund or local government settlement, and what specific contribution this has made to the provision of women-only homeless services and efforts to ensure a consistent gender approach is taken to allocation and supply of temporary accommodation. I wonder if it would also consider writing to government when it expects the temporary accommodation standards framework will become legally enforceable.
That latter point, I think, being particularly a point. Mr Chowdhury, you're nodding in...
Yeah, I agree with Mr Torrance.
You agree. Mr Ewing?
Yes, I do agree, and I'm struck by the information that we've had from the petitioner and others that the extent of the gravity of this problem and the extent of the risk to which these women are exposed. And I note that in our papers that there's reference to the work that Ash Regan has done on the topic of hostel safety, and she refers to the need to stop more women dying. And I believe the Evening Times newspaper has run a campaign highlighting this. So whilst the Scottish Government has said that funding is being provided, there was a sort of lack of clarity about whether any of that funding is going to find its way into providing a solution that petitioner wants. So I do think that in the approach that Mr Torrance has advocated, with which I agree, we should specifically ask exactly what will be done to address this year. Not vague, money will be made available in a general way, but what exactly will be done. Otherwise, we will be in the same position. Nothing further. My concern is, and I hope I'm not being unfair to the government, needless to say, I would never wish to do that, but my concern is that, you know, this is one of these issues where we talk about spending huge amounts of money, but nothing actually happens.
Thank you, Mr Ewing. All duly noted. The recommendation from Mr Torrance is that we keep the petition open and we pursue the issues as he has directed and as Mr Ewing has fleshed out. And in addition, are members content that we proceed on that basis? We are, so we'll keep the petition open and we will take it forward on that basis. That brings us to the end of the public part of our consideration of business this morning. We'll suspend briefly. Thank you.